It's been a decade since these were the top quarterback recruits in college football, which is crazy because it seems like it wasn't too long ago we were seeing some of these guys play. Today, we're going to be taking a look back at the top 10 quarterback recruits from the 2011 class. As always, we're going to be using the 24/7 rankings for this countdown. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. If you're a college football fan, then this is definitely the place for you. Kicking off our list today at number 10 is Jacoby Brissett. He's remembered for his time at NC State, but he originally committed to Florida. He attended William Dwyer High School in Palm Beach Gardens and was viewed as one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks of his class. As a true freshman at Florida in 2011, he was the backup quarterback. Entering his sophomore season, he competed with Jeff Driscoll for the starting quarterback spot. He started the first game of the season, but Driscoll was the starter for the remainder of the year after that. Overall, Brissett appeared in 5 games, throwing for 250 yards with a touchdown. While it was looking like he'd be unable to win the starting job moving forward at Florida, he opted to transfer to NC State. After sitting out the 2013 season, he was named the starting quarterback for the Wolfpack in 2014. That season, he passed for 2,600 yards with 23 touchdowns. As a senior in 2015, he threw for 2,600 yards with 20 touchdowns. In his 2 seasons, he also added 900 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. Brissett was selected by the New England Patriots in the 3rd round of the 2016 NFL Draft. He started 2 games for them, but was traded to the Colts the following season. He started 15 games in 2017, but then was back to the bench in 2018 when Andrew Luck returned. After Luck retired in 2019, Jacoby Brissett started 15 games. Then, with Philip Rivers coming in 2020, Brissett was back to being the backup quarterback. Over his career, he's thrown for 6,500 yards with 31 passing touchdowns and 13 interceptions. He's also rushed for 600 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns as well. Number 9 is Oklahoma State quarterback J.W. Walsh. He attended Guyer High School in Texas, where he totaled 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns as a senior. He redshirted in 2011. Then, in 2012, he lost the starting quarterback battle, but came in after a few games as the starter thanks to an injury. 3 games later, he suffered a knee injury. Now, this injury was expected to sideline him for the rest of the season, but he was able to return a few weeks later. He finished the season with 1,500 passing yards and 13 touchdowns and completed 67% of his passes. Conference coaches named him the Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year. He began the 2013 season as the starting quarterback. He threw for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, but was benched midway through the season. In 2014, he started the first few games of the season, but was knocked out with a right foot injury. The injury required surgical repair, and he missed the remainder of the season. In 2015, Mason Rudolph was named the starting quarterback. So in 2015, Walsh was the backup. However, he was still utilized heavily in the offense. During the season, he threw for 10 touchdowns and also had 10 rushing touchdowns. Instead of opting for the NFL, Walsh turned his eyes to coaching. In January of 2016, he joined the TCU coaching staff as an offensive graduate assistant. Then in 2017, he became the Abilene Christian running backs coach. Then in March of 2020, he joined Texas as an offensive analyst. Just a few weeks ago, it was announced that Walsh would return to Oklahoma State, joining the staff as a quality control coach. The next one on our list is a first. Bubba Starling comes in at number 8 on this list. He committed to play football at Nebraska. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, there was never a Bubba Starling at Nebraska playing quarterback, that's because you're right. Instead of playing football there, he decided to take his talents to the MLB instead. He was drafted number 5 overall in the 2011 MLB draft. Although he was one of the top picks in baseball, he didn't appear in the major leagues until 2019. For those of you that don't follow baseball, that's a damn long time for a top 5 pick to reach the big leagues. He's appeared in 91 games, hitting just above 200. I hate to say it, but it looks like baseball might not have been the right career path for him. Hey, props to him for reaching the big leagues, but I don't think his baseball career turned out the way he would have liked. Number 7 on this list goes to the most successful quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. The Louisville commit attended Miami Northwestern High School. During his last 2 years as a starter, he threw for over 5,000 yards with 54 touchdown passes. He also added 13 touchdowns on the ground as well. He didn't begin the 2011 season as the starting quarterback for Louisville though, but he took over during the 4th game of the season. He finished the season with 2,100 yards and 14 touchdowns. He was named the Big East Rookie of the Year and was named a freshman All-American. As a sophomore in 2012, he started 11 games. He threw for 3,500 yards with 25 touchdowns. He finished 6th in the nation in completion percentage, 8th in yards per attempt, and 7th in passing efficiency. He was named the Big East Offensive Player of the Year. Then, as a junior, he threw for just under 4,000 yards with 31 touchdowns. In his final game of the season, he threw for 450 yards and was named the MVP of the Russell Athletic Bowl. He was selected by the Minnesota Vikings with a 32nd pick in the 1st round of the 2014 NFL Draft. He made 28 starts for the Vikings in his first 2 seasons, throwing for over 6,000 yards with 28 touchdowns. He missed all of 2016 after a gruesome injury. After that, he totaled only 6 career starts over his next 3 seasons. After playing great for the Saints in replacement of Drew Brees, Bridgewater signed with the Carolina Panthers. In 2020, he started 15 games, throwing for a career-high 3,700 yards with a career-high 15 touchdown passes. Number 6 on this list goes to another modern-day quarterback that chose USC, Max Wittek. Prior to Wittek, USC quarterback Matt Barkley was the team's starting quarterback. As a senior, Wittek threw for 2,200 yards with 24 passing touchdowns. He redshirted his freshman season in 2011. Then, in 2012, he won the backup job to Matt Barkley. He appeared in a total of 8 games and started when Barkley missed time due to injury. He completed 52% of his passes for 400 yards with 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But in 2013, him and Cody Kessler competed for the starting job. He eventually lost the job and was the backup quarterback. He appeared in limited snaps on the season, throwing for 200 yards, but didn't throw a touchdown. Then in 2014, he entered the transfer portal, ultimately ending up at Hawaii. He sat out in 2014 and was the starting quarterback in 2015, but he was pretty bad. He completed only 47% of his passes. He threw 1,500 yards with 7 touchdowns, but threw 15 interceptions. Wittek went undrafted but signed as a free agent with the Jaguars, but was waived shortly after. Before we get to our top 5 on this list, if you could please take a second and give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps the channel grow, and it only takes a second to do. Number 5 on this list goes to Christian LeMay, who committed to Georgia. As a junior at David W. Butler High School in North Carolina, he threw for 3,300 yards with 44 passing touchdowns. He was never able to win the starting quarterback job at Georgia as he sat behind Aaron Murray. During his time with the Bulldogs, he threw 2 total passes, and one of them was intercepted. He did, however, rush for 67 yards with a rushing touchdown. He opted to transfer to Jacksonville State, where he sought more action at quarterback. However, he spent time mainly as a backup. He then spent time in the American Arena League with the Carolina Energy and in the Indoor Football League with the Green Bay Blizzard. He's now the wide receivers coach at West Texas A&M. Prior to that, he was the wide receivers coach at Notre Dame College. Coming in at number 4 on this list is Brett Hundley. As a senior at Chandler High School in Arizona, he threw for 2,300 yards with 20 touchdowns. He was ranked as the second best dual-threat quarterback recruit in his class. In 2011, he redshirted at UCLA and was named the starting quarterback in 2012. He led the Bruins to the Pac-12 championship game. UCLA finished the season with 9 wins and were ranked number 17 in the AP poll. He set a single-season record with 3,700 passing yards and also totaled 38 touchdowns. The following season, he led UCLA to a 10-win season, throwing for over 3,000 yards with 24 passing touchdowns, while rushing for 750 yards and adding 11 rushing touchdowns on the ground. During his junior season, he became UCLA's all-time leader in touchdown passes with 75. He also became the school's career leader in total offense with 11,713 total yards. He finished second in passing yards and second in rushing yards by a quarterback. He entered the 2015 NFL Draft and was selected in the 5th round by the Green Bay Packers. Through his first 2 seasons, he only completed 2 of 10 passes. But in 2017, he started 9 games for the Packers after Aaron Rodgers went down with a collarbone injury. He completed 61% of his passes for 1,800 yards and 9 touchdowns, but threw 12 interceptions. He has since spent time in Seattle and Arizona, but has only thrown 10 passes in the last 3 years. Before we get to our top 3, drop a comment down below and try to take a guess as to who the top 3 quarterback prospects were in the 2011 class. Number 3 on this list goes to Kyle Frazier. He led his high school to 3 Class 4A state championships during his last 3 years in high school and earned MVP honors all 3 years. He was named USA Today's National Offensive Player of the Year. During his senior season, he threw for 3,000 yards and had 42 touchdowns while rushing for 1,100 yards and 22 touchdowns. He committed to Auburn. During his first 2 seasons with the Tigers, he appeared in 22 games but was never the starting quarterback. He completed 52% of his passes and threw 2 touchdowns with 10 interceptions. With Nick Marshall coming in for 2013, Auburn converted Frazier to safety. After that experiment didn't go well, he transferred to Ouachita Baptist University. There, he converted back to quarterback where he threw for 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns. He also added 600 yards on the ground with 3 rushing touchdowns. And that would be the end of his football career. Number 2 on our list goes to Braxton Miller, who has truly done it all over his football career. While at Wayne High School in Ohio, he threw for 3,300 yards with 29 passing touchdowns. He also added 1,100 yards on the ground with 12 rushing touchdowns. The top dual-threat quarterback in the nation chose Ohio State. He wasn't named the starter right away, but took over the starting job during his first year there. During his 3 seasons as the starting quarterback for Ohio State, he racked up 5,300 passing yards with 52 passing touchdowns. He also added 3,000 yards on the ground with 32 rushing touchdowns. In 2014, Braxton Miller tore the labrum of his shoulder in practice and took a medical redshirt for the season. The following year, with JT Barrett and Cardinal Jones emerging, the quarterback battle was fierce. So instead of competing for the quarterback spot, Braxton Miller converted to wide receiver. He finished the season with 25 catches for over 300 yards with 3 receiving touchdowns. He also added 260 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2016 NFL Draft by the Houston Texans. During his first 2 seasons in Houston, he caught 34 passes for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was waived by Houston in September of 2018. He was then signed to the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad, but was released a year later. He then signed with the Browns, but was released after a week. Then in 2019, he was signed to the Carolina Panthers practice squad. He was placed on the practice squad injured reserve list and was released with an injury settlement in November. And that was all we saw from Braxton Miller's football career. The number 1 high school quarterback recruit in 2011 goes to Jeff Driscoll. He attended Paul J. Haggerty High School in Florida. During his high school career, he threw for 4,800 yards with 36 touchdowns. As a senior in 2010, he was the Maxwell Football Club National High School Player of the Year and the Gatorade Football Player of the Year. He stayed close to home, committing to Florida. As a freshman, he appeared in 5 games, completing half his passes for 150 yards with 2 interceptions. He became the starting quarterback for the team in 2012. He won 11 games for Florida and led them to the Sugar Bowl. He threw for over 1,600 yards with 12 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns. After starting 3 games in 2013, he broke his right fibula and missed the rest of the season. He returned from the injury in 2014 and kept his starting job, but he was benched later in the year. In 2015, he entered the transfer portal and ended up at Louisiana Tech. In his lone season there, he threw for over 4,000 yards with 27 passing touchdowns. He also had 300 yards on the ground with 5 rushing touchdowns. Driscoll was drafted by the 49ers in the 6th round of the 2016 NFL Draft. He was waived by the 49ers a few months later and claimed off waivers by the Bengals. It wasn't until 2018 in which Driscoll would make his NFL debut. He started the last 5 games of the season for the Bengals, going 1-4 and passing for 750 yards with 5 touchdowns. Then in 2019, he was waived by the Bengals. A month later, he was signed by the Lions. In Detroit, he started 3 games, throwing for 700 yards with 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Then, in March of 2020, he signed with the Broncos. He appeared in 3 games for Denver in 2020, throwing for 430 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So, that wraps up this top 10 countdown. Who are you most surprised to see on this list? Or who is a name that you completely forgot about? Drop a comment down below and share with me your thoughts. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really helps share the video with more college football fans. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications for more college football content just like this. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.